And we're live.
And we're live.
What's going on, people?
What's going on? How are you? Podcast 99.
Yeah.
This is number 99 for us.
We're approaching the big 100.
And we have this wonderful gentleman with us, this amazing artist, Benny Miller. Benny,
what's up, guys?
Yep, they can all hear you. You can say what's up.
Hey, everybody.
So thank you for joining us for DeadCast 99.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. 99, that's the year I graduated high school.
It was meant to be.
There you go.
Yeah.
See?
It was meant to be.
A long time ago.
Don't worry, I was 96. I got you beat, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Oh, God. Sorry.
What happened?
What?
Whatever. So yeah, what's going on, everyone? I hope you guys are all well, and I hope you enjoy the show today. I'm sure you will. Benny's an amazing artist. He does, as you could tell from what we've shown you guys, just a little peek at what he has done. Benny, Instagram handle. You're on Instagram, correct? So your Instagram handle is @BennyMillerArt.
Yeah, that's me, @BennyMillerArt. You can see I put up lots of progress stuff, and I try to keep posts pretty steady on there, and try to, I don't know, get a lot up there. Time sometimes prohibits me from putting up as much as I would like, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of artwork out there you can check out.
All right, that's awesome. So yeah, if you guys want, and if you're not already following Benny,
yeah, give me a follow.
do a little follow spree, and you never know, we might end up sneaking in some. We might want to do a giveaway maybe or something.
Yeah, we can do. Giveaways are great. I love giveaways.
So see that. You guys can get a giveaway. You guys can get some of this freaking art. Look at it. I'm looking at this Michonne, and I don't know, like, Michonne is my favorite character by far.
Yeah.
So it's when I saw that you put that as part of the piece for the show, I was blown away. I was just, the hair, the detail in the hair, the shoulder muscle, everything. I'm like staring at it, and I'm just in awe. The facial expression is spot on.
I love the Snape.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Harry Potter.
Well, yeah.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I don't know if you can see
dude,
it, but
sweet.
I got a dark mark, so.
Yeah, the Snape is. I sell more Snapes than anything. That is my number one. I mean, the amount of those that I sell. I know around Christmas time, my online shop, it was 99% Snapes. I was just like, I was running out of Snapes. People.
I think it's like a combination of the fact that one, like Harry Potter, just like Walking Dead, is one of the biggest pop culture, fandoms there is out there, and the fact that Alan Rickman passed away.
Yeah,
I think that those two things probably in conjunction, made a huge impact.
Yeah,
and he's such a great character too.
Yeah.
I mean, Snape was that guy that you kind of thought he was evil the whole time, and then it turns out that he's really just this gentle soul that has just kind of been heartbroken, and a lot of people just really like that. They kind of gobbled that up. So everyone loves Snape.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I gotta say, I don't think I've watched the full Harry Potter movie. I'm sorry.
You thought Walking Dead had a lot of conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
Get involved in Harry Potter, because I just read a very compelling one that said that Snape is actually Harry Potter's father.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I can't. I'm sure I could get into it if I had a weekend, maybe. But I don't.
No, I had to I saw the movies and they didn't really do it for me. I read the books, and I think that's where I really got kind of sucked in. Is that, I mean, I read so much. Anytime I have a spare second, I have my nose buried in a book, and those books just, they were just a phenomenon. I mean, it was like YA wasn't even really a thing before those, and they came along, and people were just, I mean, it's just. I think J.K. Rowling's like the first author ever to become a billionaire, which, I mean, it's crazy. So I understand why those pieces sell a lot. There's such a huge fan base. I mean, same for The Walking Dead. My Walking Dead stuff does really well, and that Michonne piece is by far my favorite Walking Dead piece I've done. I love that piece so much. if I can say that about my own art,
Yeah, no, of course.
I really like that piece. I'm proud of it. I really like it.
So it's like children. You don't want to say you prefer one over the other. You know what I
mean? Well, everybody already. I mean, they probably heard me say it 1,000 times. My favorite piece, my favorite part of the show that they've ever done as far as introducing a character is her introduction, because it's
one of the most badass.
It's the complete comic book scene too.
Yeah.
You get her cloaked, and it's a silhouette, and you get the 2 chained walkers behind her. And it's just, and they did it, I think they did it perfectly on the show, which back in the day, that was end of season 2. That was end of season 2, right?
Was it really that long ago?
I think it was like the end of season 2, I believe.
Damn.
And then they started season 3 with her and Andrea was sick.
That's right.
I think I'm spot on with that. I'm not 100% sure. Long time ago. But
yeah, I can't even think back that long.
Yeah,
but it's cool that they kept it like shot for shot from the comic book, panel by panel. Like I always really appreciate it when I see that in a show or a movie, when they just kind of reenact the book.
Right.
It just hits so much harder.
Speaking of The Walking Dead, since we're on the topic, are you up to date on it?
Yeah. So. Long story short, we cut ourselves from cable and kind of went to the whole streaming services of Netflix. So, keeping up on The Walking Dead now has been a little bit more difficult than it was. So, I'm pretty far along. I haven't seen like the second half of this season, so I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah,
I am a little bit behind.
I kind of I poach off of other people's accounts.
Yes.
So it's like Netflix is my parents, Hulu is mine, AMC and HBO we take from like my fiance's parents. So like
I will never forget our live show for the season 9 premiere at Sweet Bakes Cafe, which is a local bakery and restaurant near us. And so we're trying to figure out how to get
the owners are huge fans.
AMC, what's it called? AMC premiere or whatever.
Yeah.
We're trying to, and that was like the first week they were doing it was the premiere. So we're trying to get that to work, and it was not working. It wasn't cooperating with us, and we're like 5 minutes of showtime, and we're like shit.
Yeah, it was bad.
Air out.
Yeah, we got it to work though.
So I don't want to spoil anything since he's not up to date. But
yeah, that's okay.
Can I just make a general comment? Sure. That I love Beta's character.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, for the most part, I really do like his who he is. He's really brought the character to life.
100%.
I gotta say though, after an incident like he had, pretty sure he's not gonna get up and walk away.
Well,
the way I'm just saying.
I mean, he at the end he did though. He did stand up.
And I get it's based off a comic book, and it's and it's comic book-esque.
Comic book logic, you know what I mean?
The comic book logic.
Yeah,
you can
comic book logic.
You can take you can have an incident that the one he had. I don't want to spoil it too much for you.
Don't worry about it. I'll be all right.
and like he just gets up, and I'm like, I can't believe that. Actually, no. Nope.
Well, it's funny. It was as soon as that happened, I'm like, yeah, that's. I just know. We work in a hospital. I know that that's not a survival
you
thing.
Can survive, but you're not getting up.
Okay. When I say survivable, I mean like in any get up and walk away kind of survival kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, I just don't think you're walking away from that unscathed.
No. But I get it. It's a TV show. It's based on a comic book. I'm just saying. In general.
Yeah, they're going to take a few liberties here and there,
Yeah, and I mean, something, at least make something broken or fractured.
Yeah, like him limping away almost. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm wondering how he's getting out.
I thought about that. Is
he going to pull himself up?
I don't want to say too much, though.
Benny said it's fine.
I'm kind of curious.
Okay.
Story. I want to know.
Then I'm just going to go and say, so my idea is that he's going to go into the access hatch, and he's going to pry the doors open.
Okay. Did you see an access hatch?
I didn't specifically see one, but most elevators, if not all of them, are required to have an access hatch.
I'm just okay
for maintenance.
I really thought at first that they were going back to the hospital. When I saw the building,
it looked like Grady Memorial, didn't it?
I was like, are they going back to? I'm like, we've been talking about the hospital. They brought the hospital back, but then it wasn't the hospital. It was just a building.
That looked like it.
Yeah. I really thought that they were going back to it because they came into a clearing and you saw city buildings, and I'm like, hospital? But no, it wasn't.
Yeah. I'd really like to see The Walking Dead, and I'm not up to date on the comic books either, but I'd really like to I'd like to see it take a shift more towards like a global aspect.
Yes.
Like everything's been so local, and I think it's just kind of hit the point where like we almost kind of need to see what's going on in the bigger, wider world. And I think that would really kind of elevate the show. I think that would give it like a really fresh spin, and it would just be really cool just to see, okay, like we know what's going on with these little groups, and we know all of the wars and all the struggles that they've gone through, but like let's take a step back now and see what's going on everywhere. And I don't know, maybe that's what they need. I think it could really kind of give the show a bit of a boost and just kind of maybe even bring in like a whole new fandom for it or something. I don't know. I think they need something, because it's you get these enemies and they have their battles and they fight the enemies, and then eventually they like overtake the enemies, and then it's off to like the next thing. And with the comic book, like it's cool. It's really awesome and it works. And for the show, I think it worked for a really long time. And now we're getting to the point where I think we just need something bigger. Maybe, I don't know, am I alone in thinking that? Maybe.
No, because I mean, I would honestly, I know they've talked a lot about having, branches, shows branch off of this, and people have their own little spin-off and storylines.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would be really down to like, we all know, and from what we've seen already, but it would be great to have a spin-off and see like what was this person doing prior while this group existed.
Yeah.
And that brought them together. And the same thing, like if they were all to just kind of branch out into everybody's individual kind of path and story to how they all became one kind of thing.
Like I would love like Michael Cudlitz to come back and have his own story of how he got there, because I enjoy his character. You know what I mean? I think that he was one of my favorite characters from the show. So I think if they did more spin-off stuff like that, you're talking about like kind of like the backstories. And it'd be kind of cool if these shows all ended at the same point. You know what I'm saying? Right. They all get from the outbreak to when they meet up with Rick's group, and they all end right there. And then you just kind of get like these like little like backstories to each person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd give you a really great insight as to what's going on everywhere and how the rest of the country, the rest of the world is dealing with what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I'm really curious, like what's going on in Europe right now? Like how are they dealing with the zombie apocalypse? Like I just like kind of want to know what's happening everywhere.
Like that's why, I mean, when you go back, I always tend to go back to Fear.
Yeah.
Fear the Walking Dead in their first season. And I know everybody hated it, but I really liked it. But in the first season, I believe it was the first. If it wasn't the first, it was like the beginning of the second season of Fear, where they make it to land and they meet up with a family, and the father has a ham radio, and he's basically able to still hear communication from like ranger outposts that are throughout the whole country. Everywhere from Colorado to the Dakotas, all through the Rockies, and spreads through the Midwest and everything like that. And he was able to actually have contact with these people, these rangers, and get updates. And they would all do like basically a community update to let you know, like still standing or did it fall kind of thing. Yeah. And he had on the map of the United States, he had X'd out what areas they lost communication with.
Oh,
that to me was really cool because it showed you a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And that to me, I was like, wow, that's really cool to see, because that's something that someone, probably me and Ryan, yourself, and a lot of other people were always wondering, like, what about the rest of the United States?
Yeah, I mean,
right.
really,
we only know about Virginia and and Georgia.
Yeah,
that's all we know.
Honestly, and like the only like other inkling, like Benny said something about like Europe. The only inkling we got about that was at the CDC when what's his name, Dr. whatever the hell his name is,
Yeah.
Talked about, they lost communication with France, I think it was, and he was started explaining how they were in communication with all these different agencies across the seas that were working on the problem, and they lost communication. Yep. And so it'd be kind of cool to learn, like you said, what's happening in the rest of the world, because this is obviously not an isolated incident to the United States or North America. It's obviously affected other countries.
Telling you, there's a lot. There's a lot to it. I mean,
there's
really
a lot of possibilities.
There's a lot of possibilities. You know what? We'll just make a show. How about we'll just do our own show. So we went a little sidebar there, but let's get Benny. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself to the people. When did this all start for you?
Yeah, sure. Benny Miller. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, born and raised, and I'm still here. I don't know. I started drawing art. I started drawing back in, I guess, middle school is when I really got into it. That's when I discovered the glory of comic books, really, and just spent summers with my nose buried in them and just copying pictures and really learning how to draw just from, looking at comic books and, X-Men primarily. That was the jam there.
Yeah.
And then, just kind of kept with art and never really knew what I was going to be doing with it, but I always knew that I had to do something with it because I wasn't good at anything else. So I ended up getting a teaching degree, and I'm now a high school art teacher. This is like my 13th year of teaching. And it's great. I mean, good days and bad days, like any job, but it's cool. I get to be around creativity all day, and I get to help other people be creative, and a lot of that rubs off on me, and it's nice. It kind of reminds me of being like in the studio in college, which was just a super creative environment, and everyone's working, and there's just so much creativity everywhere flowing, and now I kind of get to be a part of that every day. But as far as the stuff that I'm doing now and being involved with the conventions and everything, that was something that kind of came a lot later. My first convention ever was last April. It was in Chicago with the Walker Stalker, and that was the first convention I had ever done. And so I kind of just been, my art was all over the place. It was very unfocused. I painted, I drew, I sculpted, I did a bunch of metal work. I was just kind of everywhere, and I just didn't really know what I wanted to do with it and where I wanted to take it. And I got this urge to do an oil painting a couple years ago. And I wanted to do Ned Stark because I love Ned Stark. He's like my favorite character of anything ever. And so I was like, you know what, I haven't oil painted in a while, and I'm not huge on portraits, but I'm going to give it a whirl and see what happens. And I did it, and it turned out way better than I had anticipated. And I thought, wow, okay, maybe I'm kind of okay at this portrait thing. So I started painting, and I was doing a lot of oil paintings. And oil paintings take a lot of time, and they're just, it's a ton of work. And so I kind of shifted to doing more sort of illustrative work with markers and pens. And I discovered the wonders of working on toned paper and the wonders of Copic markers, which I never really worked with. And I did, if you check out on my Instagram, there's a portrait of Rick, and that was the first portrait I'd ever really done in that style. And I was super happy with it. And I said, okay, well, maybe I can do some more of these. And I just think I did Negan next, and then I did a whole Walking Dead series, and then I did a whole Game of Thrones series, and I just kind of really found my niche. And then I thought, well, maybe I can start maybe I can go to a convention here and there and maybe make a little bit of money, or, at least get there and have some fun. Because I had always loved going to comic book conventions growing up, and I always saw all the artists and Artist Alley and was always like, wow, that's pretty cool. Maybe someday I might be good enough to sit at one of those tables and have people buy my work. And so gave it a shot and did Chicago last April, and it was awesome. And I was just blown away, and I met so many really awesome people, and I was just so totally welcomed into the whole community, and it was just a blast. And I've been, doing them ever since.
Yeah, I mean, well, the very first time we met, which we discussed in the pre-show, was Atlanta, and we were at the Chicago show. We probably walked by your booth, probably God knows how many times. But we finally were introduced to you by Jerry and Kim.
From 3 Dead Design.
Yeah.
The amount of generosity that those people have shown me it's just been crazy. So in my first show in Chicago, I met Robin, the black and white guy, and it was funny. It was the first show we'd ever done, and we had flown into Chicago. I think we got there after midnight. And I never set up a show. I had no idea what I was doing. So we got there Saturday morning, and the show opened, I think, at like 10, and we got in like at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and went to the table and had all of our like artwork and grates and tables and chairs, and just had no idea what we were doing. And we were like frantically setting up and like just trying to figure out how to do it, like looking around at other artists and seeing like, okay, maybe. So I just remember like I was like stripped down to a t-shirt. I was sweating. I was like exhausted. I had like 2 hours of sleep, and we're like putting all this stuff together. And Robin walks by, and he's just calm as can be, happy as I've never seen anyone. And he's just like, wow, your stuff just stopped me dead in my tracks. And I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, dude, whatever. And just kind of like blew him off because I was just scrambling to get this stuff done. And he's like, well, if you get a break, come see me. I'm over at this table, and gave me the table number. I was like, oh yeah, cool, thanks, dude. And so like I finally get everything set up, and we're good. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like take a little walk around and see what's doing here. So I like walk over to where he says he set up, and I go over, and there's like this setup that it's like 5 tables pushed together. He has like 20 people working for him. I mean, it's like a serious operation. And I'm like, oh, I just totally blew this dude off. Maybe I should like kind of buddy up to this guy. But I went and talked to him, and he was so gracious, and he was just so nice, and just like showed me around and introduced me to like everyone there. And he was just such an awesome dude, and I mean, I can't say enough nice things about him, but I mean, he introduced me to Kirk Manley, who is another guy who's just, I mean, that guy's crazy. The work that he does, and I mean, I respect that guy. Like, I mean, he's incredible. And just, he introduced me to Scott Spillman, who, Scott and I had a really just candid discussion after this past New Jersey Walker Stalker. And he just really kind of told me the ins and outs of the business, and nice. It was like Sunday after the show, we just happened to be at the same hotel, and we just ran into each other at the restaurant, and he was just really, really generous with just information and tips and things, and it was cool. So everyone has just been, just so great.
Yeah, I mean, Lovey is Robin. We call. I'm sure, I don't know if you know, but everybody calls Robin Lovey because that's what he is. He's a giant teddy bear.
Yeah.
And, he welcomes everyone with open arms, and just him and his wife, they're two of the greatest people we've ever met, come across.
Two of the most genuine people.
And so yeah, I mean, you fell into the right hands when you met Lovey.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, I mean,
literally, that man has massive hands.
Yeah.
Literally.
And he does everything black and white because he's colorblind, which we always thought he was messing around with us until we really were like, no, he's like, I'm colorblind and I draw in black and white because if I do color, I don't know what it's gonna look like.
You had like some green people. Yeah.
You're gonna have a picture of like Jon Snow looking like Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty.
I told him, I said, look, go crazy one day. It'll end up being the next Picasso. You never even know.
Right?
Just like throw it out there. Who cares if it's whatever colors you do? Just do it just for laughs to see what you come up with. But yeah,
but we love you, Robin.
Yeah, he hasn't done it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll get into. So right before you started doing the cons, you were actually going to them with your wife, right? And just kind of like bringing pieces of art that you have done for people.
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool story, I guess. So when I was painting the portraits, I decided that I was going to do one of Norman Reedus. So I got this picture of Daryl kind of standing by his bike, and kind of did this weird sort of abstract background, and there's walkers in it, and it was a cool piece. I was really happy with how it turned out, and I got some prints made. And so my wife and I decided, kind of on a whim, that we were going to go do Walker Stalker in Atlanta. We had kind of been fans of the show, and somehow my wife had stumbled upon, she found Walker Stalker online, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, did you know that there is a convention you can go to, and all of the people from The Walking Dead are there, and you can meet them all?" And I was like, "No way, that's awesome!"
You had me at Walking Dead.
So we booked everything, and we were so excited, and I was like, "This is awesome! I'm gonna take a print down, and we'll get Norman Reedus to sign it. It'll be crazy." And so, the more research we did about it, the more we kind of found out that it wasn't quite that easy. It wasn't like you got to just kind of walk in and just march up to Norman Reedus and say, "Hey, buddy, can you sign this for me?" It was, there were lines, and there were all these horror stories. I waited 12 hours, and then, they shut the line down, and I didn't get to meet anyone. And there's a lot of those stories. So, we said, well, let's, we already bought the tickets. Let's go down and we'll see what happens. And so prior to going down, my wife had been going on message boards, and she had started meeting people and talking to people. And there were people that had done this a lot, almost like professionally. They go to these things, and they have it worked out to a system, and they know exactly what time you got to get there, where you got to go, how you got to do it. So my wife met someone. Her name's April. Hi, April. and she kind of said, if you want to do this, you have to do it right. You need to get there like 6 o'clock in the morning. You have to be the first one in line. And when they open those gates, you gotta run. You have to. And so we were like, all right, this sounds crazy, but let's do it. So long story, not quite so long. We ran and we made it to Norman Reedus, and we waited. We weren't in line for that long. We were pretty close to the front, and God, we went up and I gave him the picture and asked him to sign it, and I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Meeting Norman Reedus for you're a fan of these shows, and it was cool to go there and actually meet them in person, and he looked at it, and I'll never forget. He took the print and he just stopped and he looked at it, and I know, he makes a lot of money at these things, and he's a really nice. He's a super kind, gracious person. He has this ability to make you feel like you're the only person in the world at that moment. But he was super cool, and we went up and he just took a moment and he really looked at the art, and he was like, "Wow, dude, you're really talented." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then he asked for one, and I was like, "Oh," and I had some extras, and I gave it to him, and it was cool because he had a bunch of fan art that people had given him, just kind of he pins it up behind him. And he took my stuff and he handed it to his manager, and he was like, "Hey, put this somewhere safe." And the manager tucked it away somewhere safe, and he said, I'm taking that one home and hanging that one up. And I was like, "Oh, dude, that's that was pretty awesome."
Yeah, that's cool.
So it was super cool, and it was a great first experience of Walker Stalker, and then the next one I went to, I was a vendor at. So it was, I just kind of found my place. It was really cool. It was just an awesome experience.
That's a cool story. That's really, and thanks to April, right, for
Cheers.
She posted a picture of actually that story that you just told on Twitter today.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see that. She was
That's awesome.
She was before he became a vendor, so.
I knew him before he was cool,
Yeah. Before he's famous.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break just to let everybody know if you're just joining or you joined late or whatever. We're here with Benny Miller, and please, if you want to check out his work, go to his Instagram page. It's at Benny Miller Art on Instagram. He doesn't do Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, so go to Instagram, and then in the bio on Instagram, it's okay. You're not missing out on much. On his bio on Instagram, you can find the link to his online store, which will bring you, to it's on Etsy, right?
Yeah, if you go, there's a link in my bio to my website. You'll go to my website, and then you can just click on shop. And that'll take you right to my shop, which is Etsy.
Nice. Yeah, there it is. We'll get into a few of the questions that we received today.
Awesome.
Tiffany. Hi, Tiff. Tiffy says, I'm totally fangirling over the Harry Potter drawings. Alan Rickman is probably my fave. Have you ever had a chance to meet or interact with any of the actors you have drawn? Well, we know about Norman. Anybody else?
We did, that the first year we went as fans, we did get, we did splurge and we got the cast photo op. So it was cool. It was everyone. It was JDM was there, Norman Reedus. It was a year that Rick was there, wow. Michonne. It was everyone. It was so cool. And so, it's not like you really get to meet them in those photo ops. They kind of rush you in and rush you out. But, right. We did kind of get to walk around, and I did get to meet some people. But yeah, I didn't really have any interactions like I did with Norman Reedus. It was more just those brief kind of little things.
All right.
But but no one else I drew. I haven't met any of the Game of Thrones people. That would be, my heart might explode if I got to meet any of those people. Though I did do a Wizard World, and Jason Momoa was there. That's and so cool. I remember we were there working the table, and then all of a sudden my wife's just I'm leaving, I'm going to meet Jason Momoa. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, I might not be back. And I was like, oh. She got to go meet Jason Momoa. She came back and she couldn't talk for an hour.
The guy's a freaking, he did a DC movie, so I really can't
One of the better DC movies. Yeah. Aquaman was awesome.
I have yet to see Aquaman, honestly. Good. I don't.
Good.
Yeah.
No, I heard he got pretty good reviews.
Really, what are you comparing it to?
Yeah.
One steaming crap pile versus another. And I'm a DC fan, so that hurts me to say, but I know what the movies are.
Yeah. You got a particular choice as far as what you like comic-wise? You said X-Men earlier, so
X-Men is what I grew up. X-Men is big for me. I just completely obsessed with X-Men. And I will forever and always be a fan of Jim Lee and Joe Madureira and Andy Kubert and all those artists. Those are the guys that's the reason why I got into art or drawing. Those guys are just, they're everything to me.
That's very cool.
And, in the 90s, X-Men was it, man. X-Men was, that was the book. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of interesting. It's kind of my whole beef with the whole Marvel universe right now, and the whole Marvel is that, and I understand it's Sony and Disney and all these ownership things, but yeah. At the end of Infinity Wars, when Nick Fury pulls out his beeper and there's the Captain Marvel, that should not have been a Captain Marvel symbol. That should have been an X in a circle, and that should be X-Men showing up. Wolverine was part of the Avengers. It makes me so mad that X-Men are not part of that, because I don't know. I always kind of thought the Avengers were sort of lame. The movies are awesome. I love the movies, but the comics, I don't know. I just was never a big fan of the comics, of the Iron Man comics, the Thor comics. And look, I love Thor. I have Thor's hammer on me. I'm a huge Thor fan, but I just, X-Men were it to me, and the fact that they're not given that same platform.
It's coming. It's coming. I mean, I feel your pain because when you read the comics, you know how everything went down in the comics.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the movies, you're just like, there was hundreds, hundreds of characters, of superheroes in that fight. I mean, so
everyone.
Yeah. So I know how you feel.
I just want to see Wolverine with the Avengers. That's all. I would.
It won't be Hugh though. So it's kind of hard to figure out who they're going to do now. And I'm just afraid that they're going to pick some cheesy ass actor. I don't know. Yeah. I heard a rumor oh my God, what's his name? Said that he would love to be Wolverine.
The guy from Twilight, right?
No.
Because he said he was interested. And I'm like, Robert Pattinson. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
No. Oh my God.
That's gonna be a no for me, dog.
What the hell's his name? He's old too. He does all the Mission Impossible movies.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Yeah. I'm like, what are you kidding me? Yeah. I know Wolverine was short, but what? That nose, bro.
Short.
The nose got what are you doing?
5'3".
Yeah.
People forget that. He's 5'3". He's a little dude.
Yeah. Wolverine.
He's old, but the healing factor, I guess, maybe makes him look a little younger. I don't know. He's an old dude, but I don't know. I remember originally when they were in talks to figure out who would play Wolverine, I remember Danzig was in the runnings for it.
Really?
There were all kinds of rumors floating around that Danzig was going to be Wolverine, which would just be crazy. I don't even know.
I mean, for me, it's like, just like how I don't think there's anybody else that could be Deadpool for Ryan Reynolds. For me, I just don't think that anybody could ever come up to par as Wolverine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman is it for me. Like that is Wolverine. That was like the ultimate casting perfection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I liked how like in the early X-Men they would always shoot everyone standing like on boxes, they went out of their way to make him look small, and then at some point in time they just stopped doing that.
Yeah, they just gave up.
Kind of this giant.
Yeah. Gay. So Gay is watching. She's here. She's out in the UK, and she wants us to let you know how much she loves the drawing. It says, Chris, please tell Benny how much I love the drawing of the character who changed my life so much. I named my cat after him. Rustin Cole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True Detective. True Detective is maybe that. I guess they're on the third season of it now, but each season they do like an entirely different story and an entirely different cast. And that first season of True Detective with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson is maybe the best season of television ever. I mean, it was just, Matthew McConaughey's the man. He's just, Matthew McConaughey could play Wolverine and I wouldn't care. He could play every person on the X-Men, all of the six movies. And it would be my favorite movie ever. I love McConaughey. He's the man. When that series came out, I was like, I don't even care if this series is going to be good or not. It's McConaughey. But the series incredible. It was incredible. And so I had to pay tribute to Russ Cool because that character was just so phenomenal in that series. And the series was so good. So I had to do that one. It was, just like I had to do Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. He's
nice.
That's my favorite movie of all time.
It is a great movie. Oh my God. Love it.
I kind of put Kurt Russell and Matthew McConaughey sort of. There's some similarities there.
Yeah. Tiffy also wants to know, what was your first drawing that inspired you to do portraits of fan-loved movies and shows?
Yeah, so to kind of go back, I did that Ned Stark painting. That was really kind of the first one I did. I love Ned Stark.
Yeah, Ned Stark. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And Ned's he's the man. He's like one of my favorite characters of all time. And, I remember reading those books and closing near the end of the book, I'm just like, oh, Ned Stark's so great. He's going to be the star of this whole series. He's so awesome. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, how did who are the books even about now?
Yeah.
But, Yeah, he was great. So that was probably the first one. And then, like I said, that Rick drawing that I did was like the first one that I've done in the style that I'm working in currently. So, and Rick's the man. You just, I thought that was a perfect place to start.
Yeah, I mean, but Rick is the man. I gotta say though, I'll throw this out there. I'm not missing him.
Rick?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I agree.
I don't mean to offend anybody. I know Linda, who was here, is a huge Rick Grimes fan. It's not. I just feel like the show has definitely been able to move on without him, and I haven't.
Without him being there, it seems like a lot more characters were able to flourish and develop.
Yeah, sure. They were able to kind of take a deeper look into everything that was going around.
Yeah,
Rick was just he was just one aspect of everything that was. It's such a cast-driven show, and it really, like you said, gave everyone else a chance to really kind of explore their characters.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I was Team Shane the whole time, anyways. So.
Me too. Yeah, I love a good bad guy.
I always say you're the Shane to my Otis.
Yes, I am. I've always told you I'll shoot you in the leg.
I know. Why do you think I don't hang out with him more?
I forgot where I was gonna go. Oh, I had something and I lost it.
No.
Damn it!
What's really funny is that because we work in a hospital, we unfortunately work with people that pass away.
Oh. And
I always have this thought in the back of my head, one time I'm gonna walk in there, and something's just gonna be and I'm gonna be lock the door, I'm out.
I kind of hope for that. It'd be great.
Yeah, I have to say that since watching The Walking Dead, I very often ponder how I would react in a zombie apocalypse, and I think that's something that a lot of people probably think of now. Would I do that? Would I be able to pull my shit together enough that I could survive for a little bit, or what would happen?
Yeah, what do you think? How do you think? How well do you do? How you got kids and stuff, so.
People that's the tough one, having the kids. Because that's because then everything is all about just keeping them safe.
Right.
That's if I was a lone wolf, I think I could make it pretty far. I'm pretty handy with an axe and I can shoot a gun. But once the kids become involved, then you have that, vulnerability. And that's where it gets scary. Yeah. And I think that's where The Walking Dead's just been so good, is just kind of showing those vulnerabilities that, The Walking Dead was never really about a zombie apocalypse. It was more about, what happens to society when the zombie apocalypse strikes.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that show has always been just so good, because it just really gets down to the dark, nitty-gritty of human nature.
Yeah, it's true. They obviously touched on different societies that have popped up and existed, that are existing. And, and they've done it throughout the way, to see how, even now with the Whisperers, to see how they have transitioned into how they cope with it. And they call the walkers their guardians, Yeah. So that's kind of their approach to it.
That's why I love The Walking Dead, though, because, I love horror. I love the horror genre, period. No matter what it is. I grew up, I was that weird kid that liked horror movies, that liked Pet Sematary, that liked... Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all those, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And for me, I love the aspect of, as far as zombie movies go, or zombie TV shows, is not so much, okay, how did this happen? Okay, how do we fix it? And here's the solution. You know what I mean? I like the fact, like you said, Benny, it's all about how people would react in this situation. You would have groups of people on one end of the spectrum who would go out of the way to help anybody and try to make sure that humanity survives, and then you would have other people on the opposite end of the spectrum who are going to put on walker skins, and they're going to blend in with the walkers, and they're going to kill people, and they're just going to try to survive for just their group. And it's kind of cool to see where people fit into that whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And that's why I love The Walking Dead, because not everybody was at the same point in that spectrum. If you go back and think about it, each group had boundaries they would never push.
Mm-hmm.
Even Negan would have this screwed up moral compass that he had, but he had boundaries.
Yeah.
And the Whisperers kind of seem to blow those boundaries out of the water, and that's why I love the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. My son just had to text me.
Yeah, it's cool. Like it's cool to see. I always enjoy when they introduce characters and trying to see how the characters kind of fit into these kind of established societies, and it's just neat to see like how these different opinions would mesh with kind of like the collective thoughts, and you get those people that come in and start to shake things up and get people questioning things, and yeah, I mean everything about that show is just really interesting and just done very well, and I don't know who the credit goes to, if it goes to the comic book or the show or a little bit of everything. But I mean, they've done it well. I mean, you don't have a show that runs for that long for no reason, right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and going back to, I got my thought back. I was going to say with Rick, if Rick was still around, we would still never know really if Daryl could talk more than one word at a time. Yep. And we just found out that he knows how to write. So I'm like,
yeah.
Hey.
Daryl can write? Like, holy...
Yeah.
And not only that, but I kind of feel like what happened with Rick and Carl would happen to Rick and Judith, where Rick's personality was so strong, and he was so opinionated, and he was so sure of his own self-righteousness, that Carl, who started to really become a really decent character around seasons 2, 3, and 4...
got washed out.
And he got washed out. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you saw this huge character development that was going on. All of a sudden, it came to a screeching halt, and nosedived off the cliff, and that's where Carl sat until he got bit. And I think the same thing would happen with Judith, because right now Judith is probably one of my favorite characters on the show right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the actress that plays Judith, the young Judith, is really good. And I think if Rick was still there, you wouldn't see it as much.
Yeah, and we haven't seen her for a couple episodes now, so
yeah,
she's due to come back.
I do think that the show really stumbled with killing off Carl. I to this day I'm not exactly sure why they did, and it was it made for an interesting story, but I think there's so much that they could have done with him, especially with Rick leaving. It would have been really interesting to just see his character develop, and I know people have very mixed feelings about Carl, but it was one of those places where they really strayed from the comic book, and I'm just kind of curious why they decided to do that. But I don't know how Hollywood works.
Yeah, I know one of the harder things to do would have been be the age issues between Carl in real life and then Carl in comic book. That would have been a huge issue with the time jump. Yep. And I mean, I'm sure apparently there's news out there that there was other conflicting issues between what he wanted to do and what, this and that. But, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Question from Lisa Marie. Lisa Marie says, your artwork is amazing.
Thanks, Lisa Marie.
She wants to know what usually inspires you to draw a specific character.
I'm super fortunate in the fact that, like, I have a full-time job. I have a secure job. I'm a teacher. So the art that I make is completely self-indulgent. Like, I get to just make what I want to make. I don't have to, I don't have to, like, do freelance stuff. I don't have to do commissions to survive. I get to make art for the pure joy of just making art. Mm-hmm. So it's what TV shows I'm into, what movies I'm into, characters that have really just struck a chord, things that have just really resonated with me. We all have those characters that, we see and fall in love with, and it just means something special to us. So those are the ones that I really go for. Now, that's not to say that, not every character I ever drew is something that's super special to me. Sometimes you do have to play, like, the game, and especially now that I'm doing more conventions, I know, like, I'll listen to what people ask for. If I have someone at a convention asking for characters, if I'm getting a lot of requests for a certain character, then, I'd be stupid not to do it. So, there are those times where I'll do something just based on popular opinion, but most of the characters I do are just characters that are near and dear to me, and just, from shows. Like I did Maeve from Westworld. I love Westworld. It's one of my favorite shows. Okay. And, I did that Maeve drawing and I loved it, and I may have sold like 2 of them ever. It's not a big seller, but I did it and because I love the character and it was just fun to do, and I wanted to pay homage to that character because I really loved her. So I get to just do things that I like. It's nice.
Yeah, we get to do things. Yeah. This is one of the things we like to do, so it is nice.
No, like Benny, I think you made a really good point because kind of said that there are certain characters that always stick out to you. Yeah. And it reminded me, like, the other day I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw a clip that someone had taken of Game of Thrones. I don't know if you said you're a Ned Stark fan, so but there was the scene where Daenerys had just gotten control of the Unsullied, and she gets the whip from the Master, and he takes I forgot which dragon it was, and he takes the leash, and tries to get control of him, and all of a sudden she goes, "So wait, they're mine now?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're yours, whatever." So she starts ordering them to like just march forward to make sure they actually listen to her, and then all of a sudden she's like Dracarys, and the dragon burns the guy, and I'm just like, "Oh shit!" And that scene made me fall in love with that character.
Yeah. Yeah, there are those moments. It's funny because a lot of times you remember those moments that did that for you, Yeah. I think that's the mark of a good TV show, good characters, and good stories. The minute you fall in love with the character.
Yeah, and then for me, that's why I love Emilia Clarke. I think she does a great job as Daenerys.
Yeah.
And so I was like that's the one scene that really sold me on her character. I was like, yes, I'm all for it.
I'm a Hound fan personally. He's my favorite character.
Yeah.
I love the Hound. I think he's such a complex character, and he kind of lives by his own moral code. And even though sometimes it's a little bit, grainy, is the clarity of it is, But he's just I love him. I love it. I love when him and Arya were together. I thought that was just such a great team, and just the dynamic between them, and just calling each other names, and it's just so great. And now that the Hound is like buddying up with Tormund, like I want to see those two. Like I want to spin off with the Hound and Tormund, like get an apartment in New York.
The Adventures of Hound and Tormund.
I love
that. I actually heard a rumor that in this final season that there's going to be a showdown between the Hound and the Mountain.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would pay big money to see that. That's amazing.
It's so bittersweet this final season because, every year for how many years now, this is what we live for. We live for Game of Thrones, and this is going to be the last one, and everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I'm a little nervous for it. As excited as I am, I'm equally nervous.
Yeah, I am too. But I think they'll do right by it because just by the way they ended last season, and just that whole scene with the wall, I was like, you know what, you sold me.
Yeah.
All right, so I found some trivia questions.
Oh damn!
Want to do a giveaway real quick?
Yeah, let's do a giveaway.
All right, everybody ready for a giveaway?
Dun.
I know there's a slight delay. I think there's
At least we're not doing Instagram and YouTube this time because.
Yeah.
Remember that whole debacle?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Instagram apparently doesn't have a delay, and YouTube has a delay, so people were getting the questions right on Instagram, but not on YouTube, and people were complaining, and I'm like,
oh, no.
Yeah.
God forbid we try to include multiple platforms here, people.
So I'm gonna do a throwback. I'm gonna go back to season kind of like end of 1, beginning of 2-ish.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So, do you wanna show? I don't know. Do you have anything you want to show for the giveaway, or you want to we'll just play it how it is?
Let's how about we can do any of the Walking Dead prints. Your choice. If you win, you let me know which character you like that I have, and that's yours.
Okay. All right. So here we go. You guys ready for this? All right, it's like the end of season 1, season 2. After amputating his hand, how does Merle escape the department store? So now we have to wait and see who knows they're Walking Dead.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
Well, it's right here in my hand.
Yep.
Do.
Now, man, it's been a while.
It's kind of an easy one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Let's see what we got here. I'll repeat it. After amputating his hand, how does Merle escape the department store? First person to answer correctly gets a giveaway from Benny Miller.
Tiff, I think you're going to be more specific.
No. That's that's not how he escapes, though.
Oh, you're right. It's not.
Oh, and Pi won.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay. So Pi's the winner. He does jump out of a window. Very true.
Very true.
So Pi won. So, want to know the news about Pi?
You want the good news or the bad news?
Good news or bad news, huh? Well, let's hear bad news first, right?
Well, good. That's the only news we have for you.
Give him the news. Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Well, Pi lives in
Finland.
Finland.
Yeah.
Finland.
I believe so. I think it's. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Finland. I always mess it up, and she yells at me every time.
It's like Finland, Netherlands, Switzerland, Greenland, Iceland, something like that.
All right. Well, we'll figure out how to get this to Finland.
Yeah. I will. We'll talk about that after the show. We'll help you out with that one.
We'll figure out. We'll get you some art.
Yeah. All right. What did Linda say?
Linda,
Linda, it's your birthday? Oh, she said it's technically it is the 12th in London right now. So yeah, I'm not London, France. Sorry, I got too many foreigners here right now. Well, it's all I'm saying. It's all it's UK. It is UK, Finland.
Poor Renee's in the middle of this whole thing, though.
Yeah,
our web girl.
Renee's in Iowa. All right.
I don't think I've ever shipped any art to Finland, so this is exciting, though. Getting stuff worldwide.
Well, that's kind of the thing that's really fun about us is that our followers are everywhere.
Yeah, it's awesome,
and it's really, really cool. And the fact that it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning for most of them, and they're here hanging out.
Yeah,
it's 12. It's 12 o'clock in the UK. It's probably like 1 or 2 in Finland.
Yeah, it's got to be. My sister lives in Sweden, so I think they're like 6 hours ahead.
See,
so.
Yeah. Pi is doing it. You're not going to work tomorrow, apparently. Oh, Pi, no.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Linda, by the way.
Happy birthday.
We'll do a birthday shout out for you tomorrow when it's March 12th here as well. All right. So that was one. You want to do another?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, we'll do another one.
Benny, do you have international shipping on your Etsy store?
Yes, I want to say. I can figure all that stuff out, though.
Okay, Gay asked, and she's from the UK. Do you want us to have her DM you?
Oh, yeah. So through Etsy, there is. I'm not exactly sure what the price ends up being. I know I do have it on there, but I don't know. I know I've shipped stuff to territories of the United States that are like outside, so I know that hasn't been expensive. I'm not entirely sure what the shipping cost to the UK would be, but I can look all that stuff up and get you guys some answers.
Okay.
Most of the stuff that I do is all domestic here, but I know it is possible. Yeah.
Etsy figures it out.
Yeah, I know if you just put it in your cart, Etsy's good like that. If you just put it in your cart, it will give you the price, and you're not, you don't have to buy it at that time, or there's like a shipping estimator. So Etsy's real good about that. So you can just kind of go in and it'll give you the price. And then if it ends up being like $1 million, then you can just say, no, I'm not doing this. But if you don't have to commit to it, you can just kind of put it in your cart and see. Okay, so my wife is saying that she thinks last time to England it was between 13 and 16. Here, she's going to look. which is like the same price as like a print. But
that's why we gave them.
You know, I think the last person that did that, we ended up just kind of slipping them some free prints because the shipping was like as much as the print.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah. I mean, for us to ship overseas, usually it's about $23 to $24.
Because we send shirts.
Yeah,
so it's
we
like,
send shirts and stuff. So
yeah.
All right, let's key up another question here. We're gonna go to season 5, episode 9. In the car, as Rick and 3 others approach their destination, Noah's hometown. So they're in a vehicle and they're traveling towards Noah's hometown. Someone snaps a CD in half. Who is that person? So, in the car, as Rick and 3 others approach Noah's hometown, someone snaps a CD in half. Who's that person?
I never would have gotten that.
Yeah, you kidding?
Hey, I remember that happening. I don't remember who did it though.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I remember the scene too. But Lisa wins. Lisa wins. Glenn, she just beat Lucy. I mean, just beat it. It came in like it was like bloop bloop. Lisa wins.
Lisa wins. Way to go, Lisa.
Good job, Lisa. Lisa lives. Lisa, drop. I forgot. Could you drop just where you live again?
It's in the U.S.
Oh yeah, it's in the U.S.
Okay.
It's domestic. Don't worry.
Yeah, I just can't. I want to say she's in the Midwest somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure.
My wife just said the UK it's like $13 to ship on Etsy. So I think Finland will be all right. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. All right.
You can mail it to your sister and have her drop it off.
Right.
Oh, Lisa's in Pittsburgh. I just got to her question too. She's like, I'm from Pittsburgh also. Any chance you sell at Steel City Con or any other shows nearby?
You know what? I'm not at Steel City Con in April. There's a Steel City Con. I won't be there, but I will be at the Three Rivers Comic Con in May. The Three Rivers Comic Con is this awesome convention, and it doesn't like in Pittsburgh. Steel City Con is the big one. They kind of run the town. There's another really great convention though called Three Rivers Comic Con, and it's in in Homestead. It'll be this year. They're actually moving locations, and it's an awesome convention. And I will be there, and that's in May. That's the weekend of May 11th. It's May 11th and 12th.
All right.
So I will have a booth, and it's like pretty cheap to get in. I don't have the price offhand, but I know it's a pretty inexpensive convention, and it's a lot more comic book based. It's run actually by a comic shop, but there's tons of vendors, it's tons of artists, and it's just an awesome convention. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. So maybe you'll get to meet Lisa then.
Yeah. Right on, Lisa.
You never got yours, right?
No. And then what we'll do after, so everyone, if you're following Benny on his Instagram, do you want them to go and just send you a message and just in like DM you and be like, hey, Benny, want something on the show and whatever? Like just drop your address?
Yeah. Just DM me. That's probably the easiest way to do that.
Okay.
DM me, give me an address and, what you're looking at, what you like. And I won't limit you to Walking Dead. You can pick anything you like as long as I have them in production.
Okay.
And we'll make it happen.
All right. Gay wants to know, does your wife have Twitter?
No, she does not.
All right.
No, we're kind of Twitter free. As teachers, we kind of try. My wife's a teacher too, and we kind of try to limit ourselves with social media. Even like it's kind of like taboo for a teacher to have a public account,
right?
On any social media. My Instagram's public, obviously, because it's all my art stuff, and I want it out there. So, but very kind of limited with what we do social media wise.
That's all right. Listen, I wish I if it wasn't for this show, I would be very limited myself.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. Renee, we got a question from Renee. Renee wants to know, I read that you are a high school art teacher. What is the best part of your job?
It's just really nice that I just get to be around creativity all day. Like I said, it's kind of reminiscent back to my college studio days. It's nice to just go and just see people drawing and painting and sculpting all day, and just to have that kind of energy floating around. 'Cause it just really inspires me. It gets me working, and you know, me and the kids kind of bounce that inspiration off of one another, and you know, they see all the stuff that I do, and they'll see me working in my stuff, and they get excited about that, and they think it's cool that their teacher like goes to these conventions and does this stuff. So it's cool. It's just nice to, you know, it's nice to just be in a creative environment.
Very cool. I mean, do you do like in class? Do you draw like this, like stuff like this in class?
Yeah. I usually bring all my stuff into class. Any spare second I have during my lunchtime, I usually draw. You know, if I get like a second here and there. So I like to show the kids that like it's the best form of classroom management to show them that like, look, I know what I'm talking about. Like, just when I tell you to do something, just listen to me because like I'm a practicing artist. Like, you know, I sell this stuff. I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. So when I can bring in my work and show them the stuff that I've done, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take your advice and go with it.
I was just gonna say I probably would have done so much better in art class if I had a teacher who like did this instead of just sitting at their desk with an image next to them.
Yeah, I think it's important they know that like I'm a practicing artist. I think that's I think that's a big deal.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you have someone who like, you know, is already like a child who's realizing that he's good at art, and then you're like also finding out from kids who probably never even knew that they could draw, you know, and you're like digging that out of them, you know, like this would be 100% inspirational and this jaw dropping if my art teacher, if I walked in and I was like, you didn't do that.
No. I mean, yeah, it's super cool and it's nice. Like, I mean, I've seen, like, I've had students like come to conventions that I'm at. Actually, when I was in, where was it, New Jersey, there was a whole family that was there, like from my, like kids that had graduated a couple years ago. They had come down with like their family. I saw like their dad and I was like, oh my gosh, hey. And it was cool. And they're like, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I have a booth. And they're like, oh, we just love The Walking Dead. We come to these, we drive all over these conventions. And it was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. And it definitely helps with, it makes my job a lot easier when kids just kind of see that like, hey, you kind of, you're a practicing artist. It's cool. And yeah, it's just nice. It all works out.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's see. Another question from Renee says, what has been your favorite character to create? I think, well, we touched on it earlier, but if you have another one.
Yeah, I don't know. So I've really kind of shifted the artwork that I've been doing lately. I love doing portraits. They're a lot of fun. I had a really great conversation with someone in, actually, I think it was New Jersey again, but she was a musician, and she came up to the table, and we were just kind of talking, and she's like, yeah, I really like all of your portraits, but, you know, I'd like some original art, and I had some original art there, and she ended up buying stuff, and she said, you know, do you like doing portraits? Do you, you know, prefer original art? And then we just started talking, and she made this really great comparison saying, like, doing portraits for you is probably like doing cover songs for me. She's like, I, you know, that's how I can make my money. I can go to a bar, I can go to a club, and I can play cover songs all night. And you know, they're not my songs, but I can take them. I can put my own spin on them. I can kind of make them my own, but you know, someone else still wrote them. And it's such a great comparison because that's kind of what portraits are. You know, I'm working from a photograph. So there's a level of creativity, I think, that isn't there, opposed to just like doing, you know, the drawing that you're just kind of pulling out of thin air. And even though I can take these portraits and I can really kind of spin them and put my own style on them, the level of creativity isn't just the same. So all of the stuff that I've been doing lately, I just got that itch. I just needed to create. So I've been doing just like a lot more comic booky stuff lately. And it's been really nice just to kind of create to flex those creative muscles. I think I really needed to do that. And it's been fun. And look, comic books they're my true love. That's how I got into art. That's what started everything. And I personally just believe that I was never good enough. I just always really struggled with comic book stuff. I really struggled with a style, with just the composition, the anatomy, everything. Lighting is so difficult that you see a lot of these guys and they make it look so easy. But there's so much that goes into doing that comic book stuff. To me, comic book art has always been the highest, purest form of art. I think it's so incredible. I think it belongs in every museum around the world, and it doesn't get enough credit. And I just never really believed that I was good enough. But you know, doing these portraits, really understanding the structure of the face and doing all of this, it elevated me to a level of drawing that I've never been able to obtain before. And now I'm drawing stuff that I never really thought I would ever be capable of. And the comic book stuff I'm doing now, I love doing it. It's really my true love and passion. And I kind of feel I'm kind of to the point where I'm confident enough with my abilities that I can really do these and have fun with them and kind of develop my own style and do my thing with them. So, you know, I don't know. I don't have like a favorite character per se, but I definitely really love this whole comic style now that I've been doing, and I'm just gonna roll with it, I think, and see where it goes. Not that I'm not gonna do portraits and keep doing that too, but it's just, like I said, it's nice to flex the creative muscle.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something that I'm going to roll into with this question from Linda. What's the hardest thing to catch in a portrait, the emotion or the expression of the face?
Yeah, I don't know. Portraits are, you know, like I said, you're working from a picture, so if you can, you know, if you can interpret that picture properly, I guess. And so the way that I approach it is it's very technical, and I'm looking more, you know, the lighting is the key thing. That's the most important thing. The lighting is everything in an image, and that's what gives you that expression, and that's what really makes a face look like a face. Is you can do a line drawing of a face, and all of your lines could be perfect, but it's not going to really capture that expression because you don't have all of that tonal quality, all the values, all of the, you know, the wrinkles and the crevices, and when someone's frowning, the way the face bends, and so it's really the lighting. It's really getting those little technical aspects that I think really, really, really bring a face to life. So for me, it's all about getting those tonal values. And I think that's the trickiest part, because what can happen is you can overwork it and you can put too much on there to where it just starts to look jumbled, and it almost like once you put too much on there, it almost becomes flat. Right. And you kind of lose that. So it's finding that balance where there's enough of those different values on there that make it three-dimensional and bring in all of the different things of the face without going too far the other way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, obviously, like you keyed on the lighting, like I wouldn't even thought of that. I really wouldn't have.
And that's what I look for whenever I'm doing a portrait. That's the main thing I look for in a portrait is the lighting. You have to have that dynamic lighting. You have to have like a really just kind of, you know, something coming from a certain angle, something that creates really interesting shadows on the face. I see a lot of artists a lot of portrait artists, and they're good, but they're just choosing the wrong pictures to work from. And they're choosing very flat pictures. A lot of people like to do just these straight on pictures of the face, and it's the most boring thing you can do with a portrait. You want something where like the face is turned at an angle, or there's something interesting going on, and there's interesting lighting happening, and you need all of those things to create a really dynamic piece of artwork. Otherwise, it ends up being kind of flat.
Very nice. Dave had a question in the chat. I guess he's asking, like, have you ever thought about doing or illustrating comic books or anything like that, as far as coloring or inking them or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would be no good at coloring or inking. That's like, I'm like just kind of learning now how to do all of that stuff with like a lot of the comic book stuff I'm posting on Instagram. I'm kind of showing the step-by-step process that I'm going through. And my inking definitely leaves something to be desired. It's, very basic. It's very minimal. I think my strength lies more in the pencil work, right, opposed to like the inking and the coloring. I've kind of dabbled with some friends. Look, comic books are a lot of work. It is drawing the same thing over and over and over again from different angles, and different. When you're a comic book artist, you're a director. It falls on your shoulders to make every shot interesting. You have to lay out every shot. You have to decide where the reader's viewing the shot from, whether they're looking down on something, looking up at something, whether like the people are standing in a room, whether they're outside. There's so much that goes into it, that you don't think about until you actually start drawing comic books. So I've dabbled. I'm currently I'm excited. I just started working on a project with a friend. He's a bit of a technology whiz, and he's building a kind of like a platform game. He has like kind of all the mechanics worked out, and it's really kind of fascinating and interesting. So I'm getting together with him, and I'm starting to do some video game work for him, some concept design, and it's something that's completely out of my element. It's something I've never done, but that's kind of what makes you grow as an artist. And so I'm, doing some concept work, creating characters, working on background stuff, and it's, like I said, it's something totally outside my realm, but
you always have to challenge yourself,
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly it. And that's how you get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out to Dave, by the way, over at Squawking Dead. He does a podcast as well. He broadcasts on like friggin' every major thing there is.
Nice.
So yeah, they're doing great. They just won. I saw he posted, you guys, they won an award, I think. I don't know if it was an award or they got some kind of achievement. It was a indie. I don't want to mess it up. He can talk about it in the chat because I'll mess it up if I go on and just keep babbling. But yeah, I did see it as I was going through. I think Instagram, one of the social medias. But congratulations to you guys, Dave. That's a great job you're doing over there.
Squawking Dead, you said? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, check them out. Squawking Dead. Yeah, they usually go in and they like to tear up the shows pretty good. They dissect the shows and everything. Usually has multiple hosts on with him. He's got a pretty cool setup too. Something I'll never understand, even though he tries to help me. But I'm just technically like, me and technology are like oil and vinegar. But he tells me it's pretty simple, and I think he's lying. So that's question from Linda. She goes, "Are there certain faces that are easier to replicate and draw than others?"
Yeah, sure. You know what? It's the faces that have like the most character are the easiest to draw, I think. So like, if you have someone that's like maybe like really old and wrinkly, or someone that just like has very prominent features,
okay,
they're a lot easier to draw than someone that has kind of like a plainer, simpler face. Like I just did an Aria drawing, and it was really difficult to do because Aria has those great big eyes, but other than that, her face is kind of simple. There's nothing like real, crazy. And I found that like characters that are just a little bit, where there's not like a lot of crazy stuff going on, it's a lot harder to capture their likeness.
Yeah. Okay.
It's easy, like to do the Hound is easy because his face is all
Right.
or like I don't know. Like Rick was easy. He has very prominent features. There's certain characters that just kind of are a lot easier to draw because it doesn't take a lot for the viewer to be like, oh, I know who that is. I immediately recognize that person. But when you get to those people that have more subtle features, it can be a little tricky.
Okay. All right.
It's kind of like your Snape that you drew, because I keep looking at it and it's like it stands out so like just Snape's whole appearance is just very prominent and it stands out to you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jon Snow.
Jon Snow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they just have those faces where they're recognizable anywhere, anytime, any position. There's characters that I found, like there have been characters that I want to do, and then you start looking at pictures of them, and from certain angles, you're like, I can't even tell that that's the character. And it's interesting. It just, certain faces work a lot better for that, and I found that it's just people that have very prominent features.
Very cool. We'll do one more question and then we'll wrap it up. It's been about an hour and a half. I know you want to go to bed sometime.
Talk.
Let me see. All right, so we'll do. Let me see. We'll pick one of Linda's questions and we'll talk about TV series. Are there any? We know you got rid of cable, but are there any series that you're watching right now that you're besides The Walking Dead or anything like that you're really into or looking forward to?
I don't know if this counts, but I just started watching a series on Netflix, but it's a documentary series, but it's called, and I cannot recommend this series enough. It's called Formula One Drive to Survive. Okay. And I'm not a race fan. Right. I grew up, my dad raced motorcycles. I have my sister cycles, but it's all motorcycles, bicycles. I'm not into car racing. I don't watch NASCAR. I don't watch Formula One. But this series, it's shot like a movie. It's beautiful. It's so interesting. It's just a world that I didn't really knew exist. I didn't Formula One drivers are they're in the rest of the world they're bigger than movie stars. They're they're quarterbacks. They're just people. Just worship these people and just to kind of go in and see the inner workings of these teams and how political it is and just how much money is sunk into these. And they shot this series it's like a movie. I mean, it's like you're watching a TV show, but it's a documentary. And oh my gosh, I can't stop watching it. It's incredible. It's really incredible. And I highly recommend it to everyone because I find it so interesting.
Yeah, sounds like something I would definitely be interested in. I'm into all that crazy shit.
You're a car guy, so you'd like that.
Oh, dude, watch it. I mean, I can't recommend it enough. It's so good. It's so good. Formula One Drive to Survive.
Okay. Dave just wanted me to touch on one more question that he had. He wants to know, have you been hesitating illustrating any particular figures on shows or comic book characters or anything like that? Is there someone that you've been hesitating on doing?
Spider-Man intimidates me, and I don't know why. He's such a simple character, but to do a comic drawing of Spider-Man, I feel like it's very easy to just fall into a very generic trap. I think Spider-Man is very hard to put your own twist to, and I've seen it done.
Would you say your own spin?
Your own spin. Oh, that would have been, I'm not that clever, but yeah, that would have been better.
Shut up. You're mad you didn't come up with it.
But Spider-Man intimidates me. He does. Just because I don't know if I'll be able to kind of put my own spin on it.
Got him to say it.
I'll give it a try.
Nailed it. And he also says the Punisher illustrations are absolutely awesome. So,
thank you.
All right, guys, we were going to let this man go enjoy some alone time with his family. It's 9 o'clock at night for us over here. It is probably way later than that where everybody else is hanging out, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. 99th episode in books. We got 100 coming up in 2 weeks. Episode 100 is coming up in 2 weeks, and it's going to be a pretty good one. Benny, when we say goodbye to everybody, just hang out for one more minute just so we can say last minute things with you.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone watching and questions and all of that stuff. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really.
Absolutely.
Thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, so.
Oh, no, I had a blast. Thank you.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. Be paying attention to everything that we have going on social media-wise. We drop everything that's going on for the show that's coming up on the 25th. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep. Later, guys.